Good day, legends. You're tuned in to the Profitable Estimator, the show where we turn takeoffs into take-home pay. I'm Joey Hidalgo, the founder of the measuring company, your mate behind the mic. Around here, we talk real numbers, real projects, and real profit, minus the fluff. Whether you're Sparkie coding switchboards, a chippy framing townhouses, or a builder wrangling the whole circus, this podcast is your cheat sheet to sharper estimates, smarter procurement, and stress-free cash flow. Each week, I'll pull in the industry heavyweights on the tools, tradies, and data nerds to unpack tactics you can action today. Plus a few war stories so you know you're not alone out there. Ready to measure what matters? Get paid what you're worth. Let's crack on.
People would assume that I was a secretary when I would, call someone, even when I worked in public works, speaking to builders and things, they just kind of assume that you were, the office admin, or when I was a lawyer, people often assume you're the secretary, it's a real assumption that you're a woman, so you're probably typing a memo. And I'm not referring to my current role specifically, but in roles throughout, there's a real assumption that the woman, just regardless of seniority, that it's the woman who will kind of set up the food and drinks and clean up afterwards and take the minutes and, do all the kind of little things, organize it, do all the organizational stuff. So it's those biases, they're still really there.
Welcome to the Profitable Estimator, the show where precision meets profit. My name's Joey Hidalgo, the founder of the measuring company, and this is episode 1 of our interview series. Today's guest, Kate Raymond, took the reins at the Master Electricians in April 2024 after a career spanning 25 years across construction law, public sector regulation, and senior advocacy roles with Master Builders Queensland and the Australian Constructors Association. In short, she knows the policy levers and the job site realities that shape your margins. Kate, before we dive into skills policy, give us a 60-second origin story. How does a construction lawyer end up steering one of the country's biggest trade associations?
Yeah, okay. So I kind of landed in this role, almost accidentally and in this sector accidentally. Most people kind of end up in construction, well, not most people, but a lot of people end up in construction accidentally, particularly when they come from the legal background, which was my path. So not too many people are in high school thinking I want to be a construction lawyer. It's just not a thing. And that's kind of what happened to me. So fell into law and then fell into construction law with just happened to be involved in a court case with the firm I was working with that concerned construction, and it was great fun. I really enjoyed it, and the team asked me to join them. So working in construction, I just really loved it. And I didn't really love private law. So I moved quickly out into the Department of Public Works in Queensland, and they at the time had this awesome unit around legal and contracts, working on all of the projects, all of the building projects in Queensland, but particularly the big projects. So it was a really exciting time working on all the hospitals and schools and prisons and art galleries and everything, a bridge, all those sort of big projects that were coming online at that time. And it was exciting and fascinating, and just loved it. My husband is also in construction. He's a QS by background, so we kind of have that at home as well, and he's still in the sector. To cut a long story kind of short, because the career's taken a few twists and turns, I found myself at the building regulator in Queensland, being an assistant commissioner in the regulatory arm, which I really, it's weird to say I enjoyed it, but I did enjoy it. It was a really interesting time, but it was a really challenging role as well. And So moving from there into association land, starting with the ACA and then master builders and then into master electricians has been wonderful, because when you're in a regulator, someone always hates you. You know, you're either the licensee or the person complaining. Someone hates you. So when you work for an association, it's really positive and lovely, because you get to, everything we do is about how can we improve the lives of our members? How can we make things better for the industry? We're here for the industry, and we're here for the membership. So it's such a positive role to have.
We keep hearing cut migration to fix housing, but without skilled Sparkies, nothing gets built. What does targeted migration actually look like in practice?
Yeah, it's really interesting. So we've got a workforce shortage. We've also got a housing shortage. So there's one side that says, well, look, we need to, reduce migration because we've got a problem with not enough housing for people who are here. And if we bring people in, where do we house them? But if we don't bring the skills in to build what needs to be built, we also can't build what we need to build. So it's this catch-22 where you have to really have targeted migration to fill the skills that are essential to get the really urgent stuff done.
You've spoken about female apprentices still hunting for a clean loo on smaller jobs. What's one practical change crew leaders can make tomorrow that costs nothing but moves the dial in on inclusion?
Yeah. Look, we still hear stories. So I want to hear from tradies out there and business owners out there. You know, what are you experiencing? What are the pain points? What are the biases that we still see? And they are still there subconsciously, mostly. So a lot of younger women in the sector still have those stories about the disadvantage that they face. So female apprentices on smaller sites, they won't have toilet facilities for them. So little things. So on bigger sites, they will be there, and we've got new rules in some jurisdictions around that. But on smaller sites, they won't be. And the ramifications of that are just practical things like, if you're my supervisor and I'm an apprentice, I have to go and talk to you every time I need to go to the toilet, because I need to go, find the local Macca's or whatever it is to go to the toilet. So there's that extra bit of, uncomfortableness in a way that, not necessarily that I have to go to the toilet, but that you're going to then be aware what time I left, what time I came back. There's a bit of a feeling of awkwardness around that for some people. And it's just it's an extra barrier, I think, that does exist. Or quite commonly, really well-meaning people who will say, oh no, you can't carry that, or you don't lift that, or oh no, that's too much for you because you're a woman. And I think, well, not always. There's a lot of really strong women out there, physically strong women out there. So, and there's men out there who have perhaps not visible disabilities or certain, issues like a back problem, for example. So we shouldn't assume that. But also, if it's too heavy for a woman to carry, then maybe it's actually too heavy for a man to carry as well, if we look at work health safety. So let's innovate and let's use, mechanical lifting devices, because that's actually better for everyone. So there's a lot of things that I think we're still to get over, and a lot of women do say that they have trouble finding an apprenticeship sometimes, which is interesting, because then I think there's other scenarios where probably people are desperately trying to find women to meet certain targets and things that they might have for their own business, or perhaps as part of a government job they're doing where they've got gender targets and things. So it's not an easy pathway, I don't think, for for women, because I think there's always a feeling of being in that minority, particularly on site, being in a minority, and sort of that feeling of other.
Estimators pour hours into bids that never proceed. From MEA's perch, how can contractors protect themselves when a project stalls or dies?
So for me at the moment, I'm not working on live sort of projects, but I certainly have worked on projects before, and I've had to go through projects not proceed. So when you spend a lot of work and effort on the upfront, on all the paperwork and tenders and things like that, and then having a project not go ahead after people have spent a lot of unpaid work on projects. So when you prepare tender documents and go to tender and you get those tenders in, the head contractor and all the subcontractors have done unpaid work to get those tenders in. And if the project doesn't even proceed, that's a kick for everyone, I think, and it's hard, really hard.
A lot of first-year electrical businesses undercode themselves out of existence. What's MEA's member one tool or resource for getting charge-out rates from day one? Yeah, really interesting. So estimating a few different aspects. So in the bigger project space, I think we're seeing a lot of AI and various tools being used, and great, that's good. We should be incorporating a lot of data and automating that data and analysis of that data to assist with that estimating. At the much smaller end, I think we see small businesses, particularly new businesses, who don't know how to estimate properly. They aren't taught how to do it, and so underpriced, don't actually factor in enough, and that's bad for everyone because experienced businesses miss out on jobs because they've priced it perhaps a bit more accurately and don't win a job, and that new business really struggles because they're building for free or working for free because there's no profit. So that's not fun. So it is something that we as master electricians want to educate industry on, and we have some micro credentials and modules around that, actually, specifically how to help to know how to cost up a job. AI takeoffs, free wire boards, bidirectional EV chargers. What tech wave should small electrical firms ride now so they're not left padding behind in 5 years?
Yeah, well, we're seeing things like pre-wired switchboards and things like that, kind of where we get a bit of increased productivity. So AI, automation, new tech, that's to me is about improving the productivity and doing more. It's not about that we're not going to need workers, because we will, absolutely. It will hopefully improve productivity. And we want to see small businesses understand how they can incorporate new tech into their business. Even things like AI chat bots, telephone bots, to be able to make debtor calls, things like that, to take that stress away from a business owner having to chase invoices. You can have an AI bot doing that, and that's a pretty cost-effective way, and they're getting better all the time. They're pretty responsive. People are starting to get used to them as well. So I think there's a lot of opportunities to incorporate AI tech automation into business, that you have to have the time to do it, and that's where I think a lot of small businesses struggle. They struggle to find the time to actually implement the thing that'll make them more productive. But if they can do that, then they'll be so much more productive.
Some of our listeners use remote design staff in the Philippines to keep overheads lean. What due diligence boxes must they tick to an Aussie licensed Sparkie can sign off with confidence?
Yeah, and that's where I think organisations like MEA really become useful, or not the only place, but I think that's one particular place where organisations like us, are there for that person wanting to go out on their own. So we have field support advisors who will go out and they can attend the member's business and chat to them about their compliance systems, where we have compliance tools. We're currently developing an even better one that will come out later this year, which is really cool. So compliance tools to help businesses actually do all of that stuff that needs to be done, so they can do their bit and not worry about, not worry, but make sure that it gets done and feel confident that they're compliant, because that's a real worry. In electrical particularly, compliance exists for safety. Licensing exists for safety. All the rules exist for safety, because every day an electrician goes to work is an opportunity for personal injury or worse, because electricity is dangerous when you're exposed to it. So they are incredibly talented people who can work with electricity and do it safely. So to be able to do all of that and run a business, it's so much. So whatever we can do to help with the compliance side of things, with to the business skills side of things, as well as technical skills and updates and tech advice on how far does this need to be away from this thing to be compliant. Yep, that's what we're there for. Ring us up. We've got a great team who will answer that call. We'll also help with all the safety stuff, so your swims and your risk assessments and all that compliance stuff that is necessary to stay safe on the job, apprentice supervision, employing people, how to do all of that stuff. We've got people who will talk you through that. So we're really there as I always think like a silent business partner. My colleague refers to us as a Sherpa. We're there to help you up the mountain. We're not going to climb it for you. You're going to do the climbing, but we're there to guide and help.
Legendary insights, Kate. Where can listeners connect with you or tap into MEA's new business skills stream?
Yeah. Look, thank you for having me on, firstly, and I've enjoyed having this chat with you, and we're on LinkedIn together, and we quite often, kind of check in with each other, which is awesome, and it's a nice community there. So the thing that I have noticed about the construction industry is that it is a real community, and it has the capacity to be an even more connected community, and I really want to see that happen more and more, because I think there's a lot of people in the industry who feel isolated, and then there's a lot of others who want to help and do more. So if we can try and connect each other up a little better, and whether that's through things like podcasts, which are actually an awesome medium to get information out there, through associations, through unions, even through, lots of different methods to do that. But I think, let's all reach out and try and connect with each other a bit better in the sector.
If Kate's nuggets fired you up, share this episode with a mate in a trade and hit follow so you never miss a margin boosting tip. Show notes have links to MEA resources and our free cost lead checklist. Until next time, keep measuring what matters and keep building profitably.